Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Leader Class Megatron from Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy. You can see on the packaging it has Beast in parentheses there, I guess just a way to differentiate it from previous Megatron releases. To me, I always just kind of call him Beast Wars Megatron, so I'm sure throughout this video I'll either call him Megatron or Beast Wars Megatron. I got this from GameStop. He's kind of been popping in and out of stock there along with the Cyclonus that I reviewed previously. So I just kind of think it's funny how when they have new lines like this, you know, Hasbro's, I think, official release date on their site is February 1st, if I'm not mistaken. But we had core class figures, you know, release on Amazon weeks ago. You know, we've had various characters release on GameStop. People are finding them in Targets. Big Bad Toy Store, I think Entertainment Earth have had the deluxes in stock. So stuff always filters out early, which I just find hilarious. But I'm really excited to get this guy. So I'm glad I was able to get him almost a month early. But first off, I want to shout out the Kingdom packaging because they have been really crushing it. I think it was a smart idea to remove most of the window because it lets this artwork shine. I mean, you have the robot mode, the T-Rex mode, the backdrop looks fantastic. I'm just absolutely in love with this packaging. Such beautiful artwork there. Very, very excited about that. Not too much going on the top or the bottom. On the side, we kind of have the standard Kingdom group shot or mural or whatever you want to call it. Siege, Earthrise, Kingdom, they've all had kind of a universal picture on the side of all the packaging for that line. So it's pretty cool, though. You can see some figures to come. We already know about Dinobot. We see Rhinox over here. We see Scorponok. We already knew about Air Razor. We got Tigatron. So I'm pretty excited. I think this line's going to be a lot of fun. Again, taking a look at the back, you have that kind of cave painting motif going on here with the robot mode and the T-Rex mode. Both look really fantastic. So I'm super psyched. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy out of the box so we can take a closer look. So here is Beast Wars Megatron out of the packaging, and I have to say it's a pretty solid robot mode. He does have a ton of kibble back here, and it's really kind of a mess. We'll get into that later, but just taking a look strictly at the robot mode, and that's focusing on the front, I think he looks good. I really do. I think they did a really nice job recreating the head sculpt. I'm going to zoom in on that. I think that's even more cartoon accurate than the original toy was. Looks really, really nice. And that is on a ball joint. So you have a limited front to back, but you can certainly go side to side. Not really rock back and forth, but it's a good looking head sculpt. You have the Predacon symbol there on his head crest, which I think looks pretty good. Chest nicely detailed. A lot of nice silver paint there. I think the shoulder pads look good. Pretty uniform. They're not 100%, exact, but I think they look pretty good. I really like the T-Rex head. I think they did a great job with that. Nicely painted teeth. The eyes of the T-Rex look good, so I'm happy there. He's got the giant tail piece for the one arm, just like the original toy. I really wish this could have come off. I really feel like if you look at this section right here, it almost looks like it was meant to peg onto the arm, but then I don't know if they just felt like it wouldn't stay on, so you can see that like it's all screwed in here. But it would have been really nice if just right there, this whole apparatus could have just unpegged, and then you could have just had the normal arm just right to here. Because you do have a normal fist, which is something the original toy didn't have, so I do appreciate that. But it would have been really nice if you could have just taken this whole section off, but unfortunately you cannot. So he's got this kind of pincer claw thing here, which is not super exciting. But finishing up articulation, we did the head already. You can spin the shoulder pads here. They're very tight on mine, but they spin. You have a hinge there in the shoulder. You have a bicep swivel. You have 90 degrees. I guess it can actually bend a little backwards in that elbow. And then this is all pretty solid. The wrist doesn't move. Like I said, you have the kind of pincer claw aspect to it right here. For this arm, you have the shoulder. You have the same shoulder swivel there. You have the same bicep swivel. And then you just kind of have an elbow that just kind of moves in about that much. And then the head can move a little bit down here. And then obviously the mouth can completely open. So if you want him to look like he was firing, and you can see that there's a spot in there to peg in like an effect piece or something like that. So you can go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, I don't have any handy, and he didn't come with one. It would have been nice if he came with like a purple blast, just like in the cartoon. He would always shoot purple blasts out of the head. So they should have given him like a little effect piece right there. Would have been neat. But unfortunately, they did not. Coming down to the waist, we do have a waist swivel, as you can see. We do have hips. You can go about that much because of that little hip piece there. Kick all the way to the front, pretty much all the way to the back. You do not have a thigh swivel, but you do have a swivel right above the knee, and then you have a little bit more than 90 degrees in the knee there, and then you have some ankle tilt and a little bit of front to back with the ankle as well. And you can see the feet are actually not painted. That is a separate piece of plastic molded in like a off-white color, which is pretty cool. So all in all, I think he looks pretty good. He's got a decent amount of articulation. I'm just not a huge fan of this back kibble. And it's not so bad right now because at least it doesn't like get in the way of the waist and the legs and everything. It's all on the back. It's really just a backpack. But when we get into the transformation, it's going to be kind of a mess just with how it transforms. And you can see the I'm having a lot of trouble with my like middle of his waist there, or his crotch, whatever you want to call that, keeps coming unpegged when I try to move the legs. It's not a big deal because you can just peg it right back in, but I don't really care for that either. So he's not perfect. He's not as perfect as I wanted him to be. He's still cool. I still like him. I don't think he's going to be my favorite figure from Wave 1, unfortunately. Honestly, right now that spot is still reserved for Cyclonus, because I really, really loved this figure. And just for a little size comparison here, you can see Leader class versus Voyager class. I would say he's a good, like, head and shoulders above. He's pretty tall. But Cyclonus still looks really, really good. He's my favorite so far, I think. I haven't gotten any of the deluxes yet. And I haven't gotten Primal. I'm very excited for Primal, but yeah, this guy's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and start getting into this transformation. It's a bit of a doozy. Honestly, transformation for this guy is pretty similar, or at least takes elements from the original toy, which is kind of neat. So you're going to start with the kind of giant tail apparatus we have going on here. This is going to swing around. You can see that there's a tab right there, and there's a little tab spot. Let me zoom in right there. So that's just going to go ahead and close up. Then you have a lot of this soft rubber plastic, and this is honestly where I have issue with this transformation, because a lot of the outer skin of the dinosaur, and I don't know if it was done for effect to make it look more, you know, actual skin-like, or if it's just they thought it would be easier to move around softer rubber plastic, but it doesn't all peg in together, and it has kind of a hard time. But you can see this double hinge here, so you have to kind of rotate that around. There's a little tab right there, and there's a little tab spot right there, so you just kind of put that in. And you can see it's not really seamless. I mean, you can really see where the joints are, and it doesn't all match up. Which, I mean, I don't expect it to be 100% flawless, but, you know, could be a little better. So if we move this around, peg that in, and then we leave this up like this, and you can spin this around 180 degrees so that, like, all the green matches and all the tan matches. So that is the one arm done for now. This, you're just going to kind of spin around to the bicep and bring this up, and you can kind of bring that head up. And that's pretty much it for that as well. So let me zoom back out here. Next up, we have to, and this is a little bit easier than the first time I did it, but you have to unpeg the waist here. And it's kind of difficult. It makes you feel like you're going to break it every time. At least it does for me. You can see it has these clips on the side, and they just kind of friction wedge their way into the bottom here. So I think over time it should get a little bit easier. It's not this clip. This clip gets used later on. So it's a little nerve-wracking at first, but you're going to want to go ahead. Now that you have that, you can kind of rotate this down, and then you want to just straighten up the head and flip this into the chest, like so. Then you're going to want to rotate this 90 degrees like this. At this point, you're going to flip open all these flaps. And then, for whatever reason, these are spring-loaded. So you have to, like, push them out, and then they're supposed to catch, which they do, I would say, about half of the time. But yeah, they're supposed to catch. I don't know why they need to be spring-loaded. That makes no sense to me. This little panel flips up. You can kind of flip out your T-Rex hands. If you want a kind of more cartoon accurate look, you can leave the hands out all the time if you want. That's completely up to you. But this is going to kind of flip around, and then these have to catch. Again, I don't know why they need to be spring-loaded. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But you're going to bring this around and close this around. And I realize I'm not doing this on camera. So you want to bring these around and close this around here. Now, this is where I run into the problem, as you can probably already see. Because these are like softer plastic, they don't really peg and stay together all that well. What's supposed to happen is they're supposed to peg and stay together, and then they have two tabs down here, which I don't even know if you can see them. If I open it back up, you can. You can see the tab right there, and that's supposed to tab into this. So if we open this up, you can see the tab slot. Maybe you can't because of the light, but there's the tab slot. That's where this and this are supposed to go once you push this all together. But because it's softer plastic, it just doesn't stay together all that well, and it's really kind of a bummer. And it's my major complaint with the transformation. So that's supposed to stay together, and then this is supposed to, but you can see already how it pops apart. And I don't know if I'm doing something wrong. It's very possible, but I don't think I am. I don't really know what different I could be doing. But anyway, this is supposed to peg together. So we'll just kind of hold that together for now and hope that stays. So at this point, you need to come to the robot waist area. Those pieces are going to separate like I showed you earlier. And then this is going to completely accordion out, as you can see, and then that's going to clip into position if you push it down. And this is really kind of a pain in the butt because everything's really tight. You can hear it kind of snap into place. So you want it to go from like this to like that, if that makes any sense. And I hope I'm showing this off. So this comes and goes, and this one went a little bit easier. And it's sometimes it really sounds like you're going to break it, and it's really kind of scary. But so that clip I showed off earlier, and this is going to be impossible to see, but this clip I showed off earlier that was right there has to get pegged into that white clip inside there. So this is a little difficult as well. Now the other thing is, you can see that there's these slots on the side, and these soft tabs are supposed to pop in there. So that whole thing is supposed to go down. This is supposed to peg in. Oh, that actually went a lot easier. And then those soft tabs kind of like lightly tab into that section. And that'll hopefully keep this center together a little bit better. So once that's done, you can spin this around. Spin the tail around, come on. And that kind of fills that space. You have to take these pieces, pull them away from the leg, and rotate them around. And then you want to kind of bend the leg so that it kind of fits. So do the same thing over on this side. Then this whole piece here, this backpack piece, is on kind of a hinge. So you want to kind of unhook it from itself, which is a little bit easier said than done, because again, everything's so tight. But you can see the hinge there. This is going to come down. There's a tab spot there and a tab spot there, and that's supposed to tab into this and this, which is, again, a little easier said than done, but you can get it down here and get this to tab in. All right, it's giving me a little trouble. I'm going to get everything lined up real quick. Okay, so once you have that tabbed in right there, you can see that this thing is on this kind of weird half circle wheel thing. You're going to want to rotate that around on the wheel until it's about in the middle. And then you're just going to drop this over the robot leg. And you can see how that kind of fits perfectly into there. And it doesn't peg in or anything. It just kind of drops. And it will pretty much stay in place. That's not really an issue. Just kind of drop that over. Because this piece almost kind of holds it in, which is actually kind of nice. So, there we are. There is T-Rex Megatron. And don't get me wrong. He looks good. I like him. Like, if you just look at him as a T-Rex, I think they did a nice job. Really, my only complaint comes from this section here. You can see even when everything else is kind of forcing it to stay closed, it's not 100%. It's a really gaping seam right there, which is kind of a bummer. The nice thing is you do have some articulation here in the tail that can kind of swivel side to side, and you get some more side to side here, so it can kind of look like he's moving his tail, which I do like that a lot. I like that he can kind of thrash his tail back and forth. I think that's really smart. You're not really going to get any articulation up here because of the way this drops down, but you have all the same knee articulation you had in robot mode, same with the ankle, and then of course he's got his tiny little T-Rex hands on a ball joint here. Or is that a hinge and a swivel? I think it's a ball joint. It might be a hinge and a swivel. But either way. And then of course you have the opening T-Rex head, just like when it was his arm. Now again, up here, you have these panels, which again, I have no idea why they needed to be spring-loaded, but they just kind of sit around like that. It's not very flowing. It doesn't really close up and look connected. Now, I assume it's because there has to be a little bit of room for movement, which I understand and I'm okay with. And ultimately, like I said, I'm fine with how the beast mode looks. I just really don't know. It's not as perfect as I thought it was going to be, but it's okay. I'm really not here to trash on it. I'm just saying, I guess my expectations were a little bit higher than they probably should have been. But ultimately, as long as this section stays together, I'm pretty happy with this. I think he does look pretty good in a T-Rex mode. So ultimately, yes, I do really like Megatron. I definitely think he's worth picking up. I guess I was just a little initially disappointed, but after handling the figure a little bit, I did get a little bit more accustomed to him. And I will say the more you transform him back and forth, the easier it gets. Some of the joints were just really tight out of the packaging. And I was just not anticipating so much soft rubber plastic. I still don't really like the soft rubber plastic, but I can kind of maneuver it a little bit better now, and I'm getting the hang of getting it all to actually stay together. So it's just something to be aware of, that when you're going to pick this one up, just know it's not like the original toy. The original toy was all hard plastic. Everything, snapped, moved around, pegged into place, very solid. And not to say that this guy's not solid. It's just a lot of the soft rubber plastic, especially in the beast mode, doesn't stay together as well as I'd like. It's not so much a problem in the robot mode, so if you're not really planning on transforming him back and forth a lot, then I would say this is a great looking robot mode. Buy him, put him on your shelf, you're good to go. Yes, he does have a bit of a backpack. The original did as well, although the original mostly just had wings. It wasn't really so much of a backpack, it was just those big wings. And he's kind of got something like that going on, but there's a lot of just kind of soft rubber pieces just hanging about back here. And if you want, you can kind of leave these out to the side for a more like authentic show look. If you want, you can tuck them back a little bit so that they're a little bit less noticeable. It's really up to you, whatever your preference is. But ultimately, I think he's cool. I just want you to be aware of the fact that there's a good amount of soft, rubbery plastic on this guy. And again, in some ways, it's neat. It kind of makes, the skin look maybe a little bit more authentic and less super plasticky. Now, I know what you're saying. A giant purple dinosaur is hardly authentic looking, and I get that. But it does add a quality, which I kind of enjoy, but at the same time, getting it to stay together in the beast mode is a bit of a pain. So ultimately, yes, I like him. You should pick him up. Just be aware of the amount of the soft rubbery plastic. Honestly, I'm kind of hoping they eventually get to transmetals, because I'd be very interested to see what they would do with the transmetal Megatron, because you wouldn't really need any soft rubbery plastic then, and it could be absolutely amazing. And if they ever get to Dragon Megatron, all bets are off. If they want to bring the soft rubbery plastic back in, that's fine. That original toy had that soft neck that kind of moved back and forth, which wasn't that great, so hopefully they could do it justice this time around. But yeah, he's a good looking figure, especially if you're just going to leave him in robot mode or handle him most of the time in robot mode. I don't really have any issues with the robot mode other than the backpack. It's just that soft rubbery plastic staying together in the beast mode. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.